Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First up is the approval of the agenda.
I move for the approval of the agenda for June 25, 2024.
Today's 27th.
Oh, wait. Yes. Okay.
Have to amend the date.
Well, I was reading it,
Yeah.
but I will amend that to June 27, 2024.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. We have an agenda. Next is the consent agenda.
I have,
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have one question, and I don't know if it's appropriate with Scott being gone, but page 3, where the building permit. So is that the total for the whole year so far? Right down at the bottom.
Tanya, pull your mic down, please.
Thank you. Call me Tanya.
Those are just May permits.
Those are just May permits. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
No,
No?
my hearing aids died.
Now?
I can't recharge them.
I can hear you on half deaf, so go for it.
I got mine in and turned way up, so it was,
Okay, I'll work on it, but just, if you see me out there, just,
Any other questions? All right. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed say no. All right. Consent agenda is approved. Next up is messages from the mayor, city manager. We don't have city manager. Did he leave any message he wants to convey to us?
No.
Okay. And we'll start with council members. Mr. Brown.
I don't have anything today.
Okay. Tom?
I spoke about a week ago with a woman, her first name is Leanne. She lives right by the mill pond fishing area, the park, right, almost right across the street from it. And she requested that we get a porta-john there because she sees people sneaking into the woods all the time for some reason. And she said it would be a really good idea because there's people, you know, it's all year instead of just in the winter like the one at Goodrich. So I'd like to request that we get a porta-john there.
Okay.
The other thing that I would ask about is what 2 weeks ago I commented that the switchback park still hadn't been worked on. What is the deal with that? Are we, you know, I know that we're probably not going to have time to do anything now with the cleanup from the storm, but why is nothing being done with that? I guess we don't know because Scott's not here, but I just want to throw that out.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
Yep.
Just the thanks to everybody who's out there clearing trees and working on getting us back in order. It's surprising how you know, I always hear we don't have tornadoes, and you know, I think the last big straight line winds was in '98, so we don't think we have these kind of storms very often. So it was something else. So thank you to everybody who's out there working to get things back in order and everybody's patience while that happens.
Yeah, I second that too. I think consumers and I think DPW, and appreciate the updates from Scott that I share around so folks know what's going on, especially to stay out of certain areas so that consumers can get to work and things like that. Very impressed. Fire authority, you know, all that kind of stuff. I think certainly I think we're likely to see more extreme weather, and I'd like to suggest for a future meeting or a future work session that we talk about the things that went well, the things that maybe we would like to improve upon, and how we're coordinating with other municipalities. I know City of Montague, seems like they just started a program where I think you can opt into a text so that the city can send out text messages, you know, possibly in an emergency. I'd like to see us look at something like that. Just very concerned about keeping people safe. This one, it seemed like it came from nowhere. I mean, I think the night before there was some type of a notice, but I don't think anybody was expecting what we got and how harsh hit. And then what just was one last one, I would like to see us, I'd like to see what tree inventory we have, and I'd like to make sure that we're, at least in some places, replanting, you know, the trees that grow big, you know, like the oak trees that we've had for several hundred years, because that's kind of hard to see all our big oaks going down, big maples. So that's all I have to say.
All right. I just want to say how grateful I am for all our DPW, all the outside people who came in and assisted our community. How glad I am that no one was hurt. Other than it certainly hurts my heart to see all the destroyed homes in our community, but sorry, no one was injured.
Chief looks kind of tired
Was
today
out on country
for
club.
some reason.
Kind of.
Right.
Dealing with the mess.
So with that, you have any comments for us? We're at the comment section.
Wow, you guys are flying through. Yeah, I do. I spent the last 2 days riding around with the fire chief. There are places in this town that are destroyed, folks. You can't get into them yet, but it's something. Our people have come together. Everybody's working in unison, and things are getting done. That's really all I got to say.
Based on what I've seen of the damage, I'm amazed that we have power back.
I'm amazed nobody was hurt.
That too.
There's no fatalities. There's no injuries. The thing I will let you people know in the audience and on the internet is my concern again is the next one, because we've got a lot of leaners. We've got a lot of stuff that's not going to get taken out. That's going to come down. So just be careful.
Even without any storms.
Even without any
They're
storms,
gonna be
and
coming
we
down
got
because
supposedly, according to the Weather Channel, we got one coming up. I don't know how big it's going to be, but it's this weekend is what they're saying. We're going to get some more rain, but just be careful out there. That's all I'll say.
All right. At that point, we have a public comment section.
Right on time.
Good afternoon. Pete McCarthy, Fire Chief of the White Lake Fire Authority, 4259 Mystic Lane, personally, 1300 Delaney, professionally. I wanted to take a quick moment. After my public comment, I am going to politely excuse myself to get back out there. When due to a fluke in scheduling, I was working a 24-hour shift on Monday. So I was the first one activated Tuesday morning when everything started to go south. We responded to a ton of alarms immediately, and some very significant ones. When I was able to get back and I got staff out, we started handling calls. I was absolutely amazed with the department heads of the city of Whitehall. I want the council to know and understand. I turned around in my fire station in the heart of all of it, an hour after all this goes on, and I've got Brian Armstrong, and I've got Scott Hubler, and I've got Roger Squires, and they're all there. What are we doing? What do we need? What do we got? And from that point forward, we have been in constant communication for the last 2.5, 3 days-ish at this point. The DPW crews have been 2 steps above fantastic. They did activate a county emergency operations center, but we handled almost everything we needed to do right here on the ground. Law enforcement has been absolutely fantastic. I cannot stress enough, this is small town, and they have come out in force. And it's really been a great experience. I echo board member Holmstrom, fire board member Holmstrom, city councilman Holmstrom. Muskegon County Sheriff's Deputy Holmstrom, paramedic, retired Captain Holmstrom. You guys all know the hats that he wore. It's been a huge asset to the point of even just picking up pizzas and making sure people have cold water. And yesterday he did buy me a delicious mint chocolate chip treat from the White Duck because he said I earned it. So again, the way that the people that make up the government of this city have responded to this community, we have so much to be proud of. The Good Samaritans dropping off just case after case of water and Gatorade and snacks and you name it. My phone has been ringing off the hook with other firefighters from other areas going, hey chief, we didn't get hit bad, what do you need? It has been great, and it's a true testament to the type of community that Whitehall is, that when faced with this level of adversity, everybody stepped up and just pulled themselves up, pulled each other up by their bootstraps and got it done. By my last count, there are 18 homes that have enough structural devastation that we can't allow people to be there. We've been forced to disconnect gas. Obviously the electric disconnected itself. We're working with both Val Jensen and Bob Tufts in the north end of Fruitland Township in the city of Whitehall, working with those inspectors to go through and do assessments to figure out when we can get these people's contractors in and their insurance adjusters in to try to start that healing process. Everything is closed. Mears, Moody, Colby, that whole section is completely closed down because we had so many people in there, consumers couldn't get to what they needed to. So we have been policing that all day, trying to get the right people in at the right times to get things back to where they are. So with that, I'm not going to take up any more of your time on a reschedule, but again, there are no words to say thank you for the city of Whitehall, Whitehall Police, the DPW, and everybody. The way they've come together these last few days has been truly amazing and makes me truly proud that when 40 years ago I was born here, I decided to stay. These are the type of events that I know this is where I'm going to retire. So thank you so much. Is there any questions I can answer before I take off? If that's allowed, I guess I probably should have asked.
I do have.
Okay.
So were we the hardest hit? It's hard to
Yes,
tell. It's hard to tell what went on the rest of the community, like even out to Grand Rapids, but it seems like we were the hardest hit.
From all intents and purposes, working with the EOC in the state, we are kind of ground zero. Whatever the National Weather Service ultimately decides occurred, you know, downspouts, flat winds, there's all that terminology that meteorologists know that I don't necessarily understand. Where they made landfall in that corridor, Moody, Country Club, in that area, we were by far the hardest hit. That southern end of the city of Whitehall and the north end of Fruitland Township took it the worst out of anybody in the county. There are, and please don't get me wrong, there are other areas that are heavily affected, but they are nowhere near the way that we are. We're deploying Department of Natural Resources. They're coming up. Their state side of things have declared an emergency for them. They're bringing in all their heavy equipment. City Manager Hubler has got. We're getting the big bins in to start shredding the stuff, and they're working now. There are teams that are going through that are members of county equalization from other counties. That are working through that right now, going through and chronicling all of the damage and trying to do a true damage assessment so we can get all of the information calculated to meet the threshold with the state to actually declare an emergency. Because again, while the financial side obviously is down the road a piece, we've assured the life safety. That was step number one. We made sure everybody got out safe, and that is nothing shy of amazing. And everybody was safe, and then it was, okay, can we get everywhere? And we worked very, very hard because there were sections of road that we couldn't get even to on foot initially, let alone if they would have needed a fire truck or an ambulance. So that was the second phase, was getting everywhere. Now that we have everything open and we can get everywhere, they're taking those next steps. And because of that, having the DNR and moving some of those trees, the state's going to take care of that, which is a huge deal. And hopefully some of our taxpayers that are already dealing with some devastation will get a little bit of relief knowing that they don't have to deal with that tree that's halfway in the road and halfway in their yard. But yeah, that's, yeah. So
I just have one more follow-up, and I wanted to mention too, of course I'm concerned about the homes and damage and that issue, but are we able to also document how many trees we're losing? Or is that just a side issue?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, I would love to see some statistics at that point, but that,
Not right now.
yeah, that's unfortunately very low on the list at this point. And when all's said and done, it will be difficult to ever get a good count, because in order to facilitate what we need to do, they're getting lopped up, they're gonna get thrown in the chipper, and so we'll never have a good count. It's hundreds. It's gotta be hundreds.
I'd
So-
say thousands, from
And-
what I've seen. Yes.
So-
Oh, absolutely. It goes all the way to the highway. If you, when you go down highway northbound, sorry, Pete.
No, you're
When you go
good.
northbound and you get just this side of Lakewood Road,
Yeah.
look to the
Okay.
left.
Okay.
That's about where I think it slowed a little, but there are trees and everything's heading east. All the trees are pointing, for the most part, pointing east.
You can look down, you basically can see tunnels of carnage through the woods where they just lay them all down. We do have a reputable source within the National Weather Service that documented 99.5 mile an hour winds right on that section. Carlton, Collier, in that area. And a lot of these trees, there's a lot of broken trees, but a lot of these are literally just torn up from the root system. That wind came in with such force, it literally tore them out of the ground. And one of the huge concerns with that is that also brings up natural gas lines, which we all know is a huge issue. And that was part of the initial onset, was rendering those areas safe before we could even get in. In order to do that, we have to get those DTE crews in there. Well, the DTE crews couldn't get their equipment in because consumer stuff was down blocking, and so on and so forth. So, but anything else I can answer? Cool. Again, thank you and thank you for listening to me ramble. I apologize. I try to be a little bit more eloquent normally when I'm here, but I think you all understand. Mr. Zemer noticed that I was a little worse for wear when I walked in. So,
On the DNR cleanup, are they restricted to things that are trees that are on the streets, or can they do private property? Because people are finding out that their insurance won't cover it if it didn't hit the house.
right. So
The
there's
garage.
that's something that their incident management team is working through currently, and they're gonna continue to work on that through tomorrow. Their primary is going to be getting everything open and cleared and everything moved away. And then it does sound like they may have the authority to take that next step and start getting things out of yards and getting that cleaned up, but that has not been verified yet.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
all right. All right. Thank you guys very
Chief.
much. Absolutely.
All right. Is there any other public comment at this time?
Well, we're already on the theme, so I'll go ahead during the first public comment to say, I wanted to say thank you to the city and all of the crews that are out for their support and ongoing cleanup after Tuesday's storm. I saw various notices on Facebook from the city. I say keep it up. Those were really appreciated and helpful. It did make me wonder how my friends and neighbors without a phone or internet would have access to assistance. So I wasn't sure if City Hall is a designated info hub after an event like that. If so, could we make it aware to all the residents of where to go in person once it's safe to do so? You'll want to make it clear to everyone before another event like this happens in the future. When the power went out on Tuesday morning, I looked at the weather alert on my phone, and it said to take immediate shelter. After the fact, I reflected that I didn't hear our siren, and I can't recall it being tested in a while. I know you don't necessarily answer questions during public comment, but I wondered if our emergency siren works. And then I also just wanted to comment that on Tuesday afternoon, I went down to the Whitehall Promenade, and I used the solar picnic table to charge my phone. I was the 8th phone there charging. So I wanted to say thank you to the library for having 3 of those, and one of them, I am so glad that the city is hosting the spot right there downtown. So thank you.
Anyone else? All right, we'll move on to old business, which is the Funnell Field request. I don't see anyone here to talk about this, so I believe that we'll move beyond it.
It looked like the letter didn't change at all.
Nothing has changed. So, all right. New business, Whitehall Tag Day request.
I'll move the tag day request for Whitehall band programs for September 14th.
will second that as a former Whitehall band program member.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed say no. Tag aid request is approved. Next is Resolution 2423, Budget Amendment Number 3.
I'll move Resolution 2423, Budget Amendment Number 3.
I'll second it just so I can ask a question.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
It's really busy. I'm not really sure. I don't understand what the GL numbers are. You know, we have a description, but you gotta be able to somehow relate it to that other number, I guess, to know what, like, area that it's for, or,
Okay. Do you have a specific one?
well, I mean, just anything in general. I mean, you know, there's a lot of them on there that are engineering fees, there's a lot of them on there that are salary wages and stuff like that, and I guess for that reason, I don't understand a lot of it.
Okay. The 101s are all out of general funds.
Okay.
So attorney fees. And then the next one would be 301 is police department. And then 448 is our street lighting. It's always hard to estimate that at the beginning of the year. I do my best, but this is what I'm assuming we're going to need based on the last month or two of usage. That's where things are in. And then let's see here. I'm bringing in just a little bit of an increase in the equipment rental. I believe the 528 is the sweeping. We're in the leaf disposal. It's leaf disposal. That's what it would be. And then the 202s are your major streets. So tree removal and different expenditures that are sometimes not necessarily anticipated. The art wall, cleaning that up, and I did offload all those expenses to the state. So even though it does show an increase of expense here, we are getting reimbursed for it. So it'll be a wash.
We know for sure they are going to pay for it.
I have actual documentation
Okay.
that we've been getting reimbursed.
We were
yes.
hoping that was going to be the
Yes.
case, but we weren't positive. So
Yes.
That's good.
Yes. So in order to satisfy the state of Michigan's audit requirements, I'm just making sure we're not over budget on the expenditure side, even though we're getting reimbursed on the revenue side. And then you'll see 247 is Tifa, so the Goodrich Park lighting, I had to adjust where the fiscal year it fell into. So instead of going into fiscal 25, it got done in fiscal 24, and so I was just bringing those contractual expenditure lines, I'm moving them around. And you'll see a budget amendment in fiscal 25 that basically offsets some of these things where these contractual expenditures will be going down in that one since I'm bringing them up on the fiscal 24. So the contractual services, I had to increase, there was a large expenditure for building permit on the Clear Sky project, which you are all aware of. And then 401 is the capital projects. I was finally able to close out Lakeview, Lewis, and Wilshire, and Mears Avenue. And so with those final numbers in hand, I was able to make adjustments where they needed to be actual. And I know that 1.6 million and that contractual services seems exceptionally high, but the majority of the expenditures had been, they had been completed. We were just waiting on a few loose ends to tie up. And that's, I wanted to make sure that all of the numbers were exact when I closed them out. And I had to bring up a little bit of the contractual services for what we've been billed for Warner Street and what we're anticipating getting billed here in fiscal '24, which now everything seems to have ceased because of the storm, so we may not get those billings in June. And let's see here. I brought up some of the expenditure lines from the Playhouse because of them being over budget. And then the sewer department is $590. So again, the depreciation line, I just increased that because they made some purchases during the year. I have to depreciate those purchases, and I hadn't anticipated what that depreciation number was going to be. And so I'm just basically making things right. I'm happy for the state of Michigan. And the transfer again to the capital projects, that was a budgeted line item. And water, 591, 540, 591, 542, and 546. These are all just basically just various adjustments because of year end. Again, we purchased equipment, and this 40,000 is actually going to be based on the assets that we're acquiring by doing water sewer lines on new street projects. So the Lakeview Lewis Wilshire, Mears Avenue, when we put in new water lines, new sewer lines, I'm depreciating them. As soon as they hit the books, they start depreciating based on the type of asset. Some of them are 10 years, some of them are 20, some are 100 years of depreciating. So I just had to basically make everything work. And then fringe benefits, salaries and wages, again, like we just talked about at budget time, where it's a guessing game of knowing if somebody's wage, if they're not going to take any vacation time all year long, so then all of their salary would get booked to salaries and wages. But if they take, let's say, I take a month vacation, which I would never be able to do, but that month would get put towards fringe wages versus the salary line. So I have to make those adjustments based on where people have been taking their time off. And then finally, the 591, 549, that is actually a construction line for water, and it all goes back to those projects again, because anytime our public works guys do work on a project, they put a note down so I can grab their work, so either their salary, their fringe benefits, any equipment that they might use, any operating materials, I book it towards the project, and all of that gets depreciated.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And you might know an answer, you might not. The Wilshire part of from 2 years ago, did we pay Halleck in full?
We are,
We withheld last year because of the poor
the
workmanship.
contingency, yes.
And I just wondered whether we withheld and somebody else fixed things, or?
I would have to go, I'm working on many projects right now, trying to move numbers around for year end, making sure, contingency. I think I might have, do you mind if I step out and go check on that for you?
You can just do it whenever you
Okay.
let us know.
Okay.
I just, the people that live up there are all disgusted with it.
Okay.
They've all got a ditch in front of their house, and they had a ditch in front of their house before, but none of them ever had water in the ditch. Now there's water in the ditch all the time.
So I wonder if they missed some items on their punch list.
And I don't know what they planted, but they didn't plant grass. It's nothing, that was my complaint before,
I'll get you
it's
an
nothing
answer
but
on
weeds up there. I got 3 customers that I mow for up there, and
Okay.
they're all disgusted. Not just my customers, but everybody that lives up there. I mean, Brenda lives on the corner too, so I think she had to have her yard redone twice from the sidewalks out to the road. So.
I will let you know.
Okay.
We owe them anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Is there any further discussion on Resolution 2423? If not, roll call, please.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Zemer,
Yes.
Hillebrand,
Yes.
Kabala,
Yes.
Folker.
Yes. Resolution 24 23 is approved. Last up is public comment. Anyone like to make a public comment? All right. We're adjourned.